Hello dear listener. Welcome, my friend, to this quiet moment of contemplation, as the world outside begins to soften and the day's demands gently fade away. Tonight, we will embark on a thoughtful journey, exploring a concept as vast and intricate as the human spirit itself, civilization. Let your mind drift, unfettered, as we trace the delicate threads that weave together this profound tapestry of human existence. At its very core, a civilization, in its simplest, most elegant definition, whispers to us of a complex society. Imagine, if you will, the bustling energy, the intricate dance of many lives, all interwoven within a shared understanding, a common purpose. It is a world characterized not by individual wandering, but by a collective endeavor, a grand orchestration of human will and ingenuity. And what are the hallmarks, the luminous beacons, that truly define such a complex society? They are many, and each invites a moment of deep reflection. Picture, for instance, the emergence of the state. Not merely a leader, but an organized system, a framework that provides structure, a quiet authority that allows for larger scales of human interaction. Alongside this, we find the subtle yet profound development of social stratification. This isn't always a harsh division, but rather an intricate layering of roles and responsibilities, creating a vibrant, multifaceted society where each thread plays its part. Think of the specialized artisan, the diligent farmer, the learned scribe, each contributing to a whole far greater than the sum of its parts. And then, there is urbanization. The magnetic pull of the city, the very heart of civilization. The word itself, civilization, carries the echo of the Latin civitas, meaning city. Indeed, as the National Geographic Society so beautifully explains, the most basic definition is simply a society made up of cities. Close your eyes and imagine the earliest cities, not as concrete jungles, but as vibrant hubs of life, where homes huddled together, markets bustled, and people found a shared identity in their dense, collective living. It was in these settlements, these nascent cities, that humanity truly began to learn the art of living together on a grand scale. Within these urban centers, something truly transformative occurred, the birth of symbolic systems of communication. Beyond the fleeting sounds of spoken words or the graceful gestures of signed languages, humanity began to capture thought, to preserve knowledge, to transcend the immediate moment. We are speaking, of course, of writing systems. Imagine the quiet power of a symbol etched onto clay, or painted on papyrus, carrying meaning across time and space. This wasn't just communication, it was the genesis of history, of law, of literature, allowing wisdom to accumulate, to build upon itself through generations. Civilizations, by their very nature, are meticulously organized around these densely populated settlements. They are places where life is intensely lived, where human activity converges. And within these concentrated spaces, we observe the formation of more or less rigid hierarchical social classes. This isn't merely about power, but about the division of labor, a highly specialized ecosystem of human effort. There is often a ruling elite, guiding the collective destiny, and then the vibrant tapestry of subordinate urban and rural populations. The urban dwellers, perhaps engaged in craft or trade, and the rural populations, whose tireless work in the fields forms the very foundation of sustenance for all. Their daily lives, the rhythm of a civilization, are deeply intertwined with intensive agriculture, allowing for the consistent feeding of large populations. Picture the vast field stretching towards the horizon, a testament to human cooperation and understanding of the earth's bounty. Beyond the fields, there is mining, extracting the very sinews of the earth to build, to create, to forge. Small-scale manufacture hums with activity, crafting tools, weaving textiles, shaping the raw materials into objects of utility and beauty. And, of course, trade, the circulatory system of a civilization, connecting distant communities, exchanging goods, ideas, and fostering mutual interdependence. One of the most profound characteristics of civilization, my dear listener, is its capacity to concentrate power. This concentration isn't always for ill, it is often a pragmatic necessity, enabling the coordination of large-scale projects, the defense of communities, the establishment of common laws. Through this concentrated power, humanity extends its control, not only over the natural world, taming rivers, cultivating land, extracting resources, but, in a complex and sometimes troubling way, also over other human beings, through systems of governance and social order. As we delve deeper, other distinctive features emerge, painting a richer portrait of what it means to be civilized. We speak of elaborate agriculture, moving beyond mere subsistence to sophisticated techniques that feed millions. We speak of architecture, not just shelters, but grand structures, temples, palaces, monuments that speak of collective aspiration and enduring legacy. Infrastructure, the very arteries and veins of society, roads that connect, aqueducts that bring life-giving water, systems that allow complex living to flourish. Technological advancement, the relentless human drive to innovate, to improve, to extend our capabilities, shaping the world around us with ever greater precision. The development of currency, a remarkable abstraction that facilitates trade and economic exchange, transforming how value is understood and transferred. Taxation, the quiet mechanism that pools resources for public good, funding those grand projects, maintaining order. Regulation, the unspoken rules and explicit laws that govern interaction, ensuring a degree of harmony amidst the complexities of collective life. And, as we touched upon, the ever-present specialization of labor, where each individual contributes their unique skill to the larger mosaic. Historically, the concept of civilization has often carried with it an implied contrast. It was seen as a larger and more advanced culture, often set against smaller, supposedly less advanced cultures. This distinction, though sometimes problematic in its historical application, helped to define what civilization was by defining what it wasn't. Generally, it stood in contrast to non-centralized tribal societies, to the transient lives of nomadic pastoralists, to the early, settled but simpler Neolithic societies, or to the ancient ways of hunter-gatherers, whose lives were intimately connected to the immediate rhythms of nature, not the complex orchestration of a city. Now, let us turn our attention to the very word itself, civilization, and its fascinating journey through time. Its English form comes to us from the French civilize, meaning civilized. And the French, in turn, drew it from the Latin civilis, meaning civil, a word intimately connected to civis, the citizen, and civitas, the city. Can you hear the ancient echoes? The very name of our topic speaks of belonging, of citizenship within a city, within a shared way of life. One of the foundational thinkers to explore this concept in depth was Norbert Elias, whose monumental work, The Civilizing Process from 1939, meticulously traced the evolution of social mores. He guided us through the subtle shifts in behavior, the gradual refinement of manners from the robust courtly societies of the medieval period to the more nuanced customs of the early modern era. It was a profound insight into how the very fabric of human interaction, the unwritten rules of social engagement, evolve over centuries, becoming more intricate, more civilized. Another profound voice, Albert Schweitzer, in his The Philosophy of Civilization from 1923, offered us two distinct lenses through which to view civilization. Is it purely material, a measure of our technological prowess, our grand buildings, our economic might? Or is it something more, something interwoven with the ethical, the moral dimension of human existence? He spoke with a quiet urgency of a world crisis, a sense that humanity might be losing the ethical idea of civilization. For Schweitzer, true civilization was the sum total of all progress made by man in every sphere of action and from every point of view in so far as the progress helps towards the spiritual perfecting of individuals as the progress of all progress. This is a deeply contemplative thought. Is our progress truly advancing us if it does not also nurture our spiritual and ethical selves? The evolution of the word itself is quite revealing. Related terms, like civility, began to emerge in the mid-16th century, speaking to the notion of polite conduct. But the abstract noun, civilization, carrying the weight of a civilized condition, came later, in the 1760s, once again from the French. The first known use in French was in 1757, by Victor de Riquetti, Marquis de Mirabeau. And for its first appearance in English, we often attribute it to Adam Ferguson, who, in his 1767 essay on the history of civil society, wrote that, not only the individual advances from infancy to manhood but the species itself from rudeness to civilization. This placement, this opposition to barbarism or rudeness, situates the word firmly within the grand intellectual currents of the Age of Enlightenment. It was a time of immense optimism, a belief in humanity's capacity for improvement, for active, deliberate progress, towards a more refined and rational existence. Civilization, then, was not just a description, but an aspiration, a goal to be actively pursued. Yet, as with all great concepts, its meaning continued to evolve, to deepen, and to sometimes fragment. In the late 1700s and early 1800s, during the tumultuous period of the French Revolution, civilization was predominantly used in the singular. It was never plural. It signified a singular, universal progress of humanity as a whole, a grand narrative of human advancement. This singular understanding, incidentally, largely persists in French even today. However, as the 19th century unfolded, and more so in the later 20th century, the plural form, civilizations, began to gain traction. We started to speak of multiple civilizations, distinct entities with their own unique trajectories. Sometimes, in this generalized sense, civilizations could even become synonymous with cultures. This is where the conceptual waters become a little murkier, a little more nuanced. To speak of civilizations, in the plural, as distinct cultural units, is a relatively newer development. For instance, in Norbert Elias's earlier framework, speaking of a medieval civilization might have seemed almost contradictory, an oxymoron, because his concept of civilization was about a universal process of refinement, not discrete cultural entities. Indeed, equating the terms civilization and culture is a point of ongoing discussion and, for many, a distinction to be maintained. While they are related, they are not always interchangeable. Some types of culture, for example, the intricate societal structures of certain indigenous tribes, are profoundly rich and complex, yet they are not typically described as civilizations, in the classical sense, lacking some of those key definers like extensive urbanization or a centralized state. And even as the Age of Enlightenment championed progress, not everyone viewed civilization as an unmitigated improvement. Already in the 18th century, some profound thinkers began to raise questions, to cast a skeptical, yet deeply reflective, eye upon its supposed benefits. One historically significant distinction between culture and civilization emerged from the powerful writings of Jean-Jacques Rousseau, particularly in his seminal work on education, Émile. Rousseau, with his characteristic passion, posited that civilization, with its emphasis on rationality and its intricate social drives, might not be entirely in accord with our deepest human nature. He suggested that a sense of human wholeness might only be truly achievable through a recovery, or at least an approximation, to an original, perhaps pre-rational natural unity. This is the core idea often associated with the concept of the noble savage, not a literal primitive, but an idealized state of natural man, uncorrupted by the artificialities and demands of complex society. He invited us to ponder what might be lost when we gain the intricate structures of civilization. From these seeds of thought, a new approach blossomed, particularly in Germany, first with Johann Gottfried Herder, and later cultivated by profound philosophers such as Soren Kierkegaard and Friedrich Nietzsche. These thinkers viewed cultures not as rational constructs, but almost as natural organisms, burgeoning forth from a kind of pre-rational, folk spirit. They suggested that cultures were not defined by conscious, rational, deliberative acts, but by something deeper, more elemental, a collective soul, if you will. Civilization, in contrast, while undoubtedly rational and remarkably successful in its material progress, building cities, inventing technologies, creating intricate systems, was seen by these philosophers as potentially unnatural. It might lead us away from that authentic, folk spirit, potentially fostering what they termed vices of social life. Imagine the subtle corrosion of the human spirit, leading to guile, that clever deceit, to hypocrisy, the mask we wear for society, to envy, the quiet bitterness towards another's fortune, and to avarice, the insatiable hunger for more. These thinkers urged us to consider the price of progress, the potential shadow side of our dazzling advancements. So, as we drift toward slumber, we are left with this rich tapestry of ideas. Civilization, a complex, multifaceted concept, born from the very human impulse to organize, to build, to communicate. It is a testament to our ingenuity, our collective will, our capacity for grand projects and intricate social structures. It offers us cities, writing, agriculture, technology, the very foundations of the world we know. Yet, it also invites profound reflection. What does it mean to be truly civilized? Is it merely material progress, or does it demand an ethical, a spiritual perfecting of the individual and the collective? What, if anything, have we left behind in our relentless march towards complexity? What wisdom might reside in that pre-rational natural unity that Rousseau pondered? Are the vices of social life an inevitable consequence of our grand achievements, or can we, with conscious effort, build civilizations that foster not just prosperity, but also genuine human flourishing, kindness, and authenticity? These are not questions for easy answers, but for quiet contemplation. As you settle deeper into your restful space, perhaps you can visualize the ebb and flow of human history, the rise and fall of great cities, the quiet scribes preserving knowledge, the farmers tending their fields, the architects dreaming of new forms. Feel the ancient roots of these concepts, the Latin echoes of city and citizen, resonating within your own being. Civilization is not a static state, it is a continuous process, a grand, unfolding narrative that we are all, in our own small ways, a part of. It is the story of us, of humanity, striving, building, dreaming, and forever questioning what it means to live together, in harmony, in complexity, and with purpose. May your dreams be filled with ancient cities, whispering wisdom, and the gentle hum of human progress, balanced with the quiet wisdom of nature. Rest now, dear listener, knowing that you are part of this grand, ongoing story. Sleep deeply, and may peace embrace you until the morning light. Good night.